Wendy, and I'm here at the Osterville Village Library. And for today's selection of First Chapter Friday, I would like to share with you a book called Women in Science, 50 Fearless Pioneers Who Changed the World. And this is written and illustrated by Rachel Ignotofsky. So I'm just going to read from the introduction for you first. Nothing says trouble like a woman in pants. That was the attitude in the 1930s anyway, when Barbara McClintock wore slacks at the University of Missouri. It was considered scandalous. Even worse, she was feisty, direct, incredibly smart, and twice as sharp as most of her male colleagues. She did things her way to get the best results, even if it meant working late with her students who were breaking curfew. If you think these seem like good qualities for a scientist, then you're right. But back then, these weren't necessarily considered good qualities in a woman. Her intelligence, her self-confidence, her willingness to break rules, and of course, her pants were all considered shocking. Barbara had already made her mark on the field of genetics with her groundbreaking work at Cornell University, mapping chromosomes using corn. The work is still important in scientific history. Yet while working at the University of Missouri, Barbara was seen as bold and unladylike. The faculty excluded her from meetings and gave her little support with her research. When she found out that they would fire her if she got married and there was no possibility of promotion, she decided she'd had enough. Risking her entire career, she packed her bags, and with no plan except an unwillingness to compromise her worth, Barbara went off to find her dream job. This decision would allow her to joyously research all day and eventually make the discovery of jumping genes. This discovery would win her a Nobel Prize and forever change how we view genetics. Barbara McClintock's story is not unique. As long as humanity has asked questions about our world, men and women have looked to the stars, under rocks, and through microscopes to find the answers. And although both men and women have the same thirst for knowledge, women have not always been given the same opportunities to explore the answers. In the past, restrictions on women's access to education were not uncommon. Women were often not allowed to publish scientific papers. Women were expected to grow up exclusively to become good wives and mothers, while their husbands provided for them. Many people thought women just weren't as smart as men. The women in this book had to fight these stereotypes to have the careers they wanted. They broke rules, published under pseudonyms, and worked for the love of learning alone. And when others doubted their abilities, they had to believe in themselves. When women finally began gaining wider access to higher education, there was usually a catch. Often, they'd be given no space to work, no funding, no recognition. Not allowed to enter the university building because of her gender, Lisa Meitner did her radiochemistry experiments in a dank basement. Without funding for a lab, physicist and chemist Marie Curie handled dangerous radioactive elements in a tiny, dusty shed. After making one of the most important discoveries in the history of astronomy, Cecilia Payne Gapsoshkin still got little recognition, and for decades, her gender limited her work as a technical assistant. Creativity, persistence, and a love of discovery were the greatest tools these women had. Marie Curie is now a household name, but throughout history, there have been many other great and important women in the fields of science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, or STEM. Many didn't receive the recognition they deserved at the time and were forgotten. When thinking of physics, we should name not only Albert Einstein, but also the genius mathematician Emily Noether. We should all know that it was Rosalind Franklin who discovered the double helix structure of DNA, not James Watson and Francis Crick. While admiring the advances in computer technology, let us remember not only Steve Jobs or Bill Gates, but also Grace Hopper, the creator of modern programming. Throughout history, many women have risked everything in the name of science, and this book tells the stories of some of these scientists, from ancient Greece to the modern day, who, in the face of no, said, "Try and stop me." The first chapter is Hippatia, Astronomer, Mathematician, and Philosopher. And I just want to show you how great the illustrations are in this book. This continues throughout the book. Throughout history, there have been many female teachers and scholars, and Hippatia was one of the earliest recorded female mathematicians. Her accomplishments in life inspired many, but her death turned her into a legend. Scholars have narrowed down Hippatia's birth to sometime between 350 and 370 CE in Alexandria, Egypt. Her father, Theon, was a well-known scholar, and he made sure that she grew up well-educated and with a deep respect for the Greek heritage and values, instilling in her a commitment to uphold these values no matter what the cost. The city of Alexandria is known for its great library and was seen as a place of learning. But it was also a place where religious tensions between pagans, Jews, and Christians would turn violent. Excuse me. This made it dangerous for Hippatia and her father to practice their Greek traditions, but it was important to them to do so. Her father instructed her in mathematics and astronomy, and she became an expert in both. Soon, she began to surpass her father in her mathematical studies and made important commentary on his work, while also making her own contributions to geometry and to number theory. Along with her scientific work, Hippatia was an expert in Platonic philosophy. She became one of Alexandria's first female teachers. People traveled from faraway lands to hear her speak. She taught Neoplatonic philosophy, and her male students gave her respect and loyalty, but this would soon come to an end. Eventually, her pagan teachings made her a target. The brewing religious tensions in the area turned violent, and she was killed around 415 CE by a mob of extremist Christians. Although her death was a tragedy, her life has become a symbol for education in the face of ignorance. We now remember Hippatia as a source of light and knowledge. This book is featured in our display in the children's room. Reading is a window to the world. This display will be available throughout the year, highlighting diversity, and especially given that March is Women's History Month, this might be a great selection for you to come in and check out.